Hi, everyone. Kate Byars here. Welcome to today's broadcast. Really excited to be here on this Tuesday morning. I don't know about you guys, but I am a mama, and we have had a bit of a rough morning with a sick little one who was supposed to go off and do a field trip, and now he's home with mom, and you know how that goes. So I canceled my meetings, but here I am. He's watching a movie. You guys all relate, right? If you can relate, let me know. So cool. Let's dive in because today's topic is a really interesting one and something that I learned really late in my career. Wish I had learned much, much sooner. And it's really, how can you thrive at that executive level? Or let's just say that level where now you're responsible for a team. Now you're moving into really that strategic realm. Now the demands of your role are pretty intense, right? It's a very gray area to be working at the executive levels or at the leadership levels. And what happens so often is that we get so caught up in working the way we did to get there that now we're trapped in this cycle of working hard. What's my assignment? What's my to-do list? So if you want to have well-being as an executive, if you want to thrive, if you want to feel like, wow, I wear this skin well, it just feels good to be delivering at this level. There's some things that you really have to recognize that have to shift and change. Excuse me. And I don't think that anyone ever tells you that. Excuse me. I hope I'm not getting what my son has. And it kind of reminds me of parenting, right? Or leadership in general reminds me of parenting. We all know that parenting is going to have its ups and downs. There's 1,000 books out there telling you how to parent, but nobody really knows what they're doing, right? And some people just innately are really great parents, and other people are like, oh my God, I'm now in book 6 and I'm still trying to figure out how to potty train my kid or whatever. And I feel like leadership is the same way. As you move into the more strategic leadership realm, some of us work for companies that give us some training. Some of us work for companies that don't. Some people are innate leaders. Most of us are not, okay? So moving into that leadership realm, you have to work differently. If you're going to come home at night and be peaceful and be energetic and feel calm and not be second guessing yourself and constantly upstairs worried about how did I show up in the office today? And where we find the biggest breakdown in well-being, especially for women, is in that psychological piece, right? Where we go to work, we race to get stuff done all day long. We're working ineffectively, quite honestly, and we're second guessing ourselves the entire day. We come home, we're there at dinner, or we get home just in time for bedtime, but we're still not really there. A lot of times because we're worried about the email that's getting ready to come through. We're worried about the text that someone's going to send us. We're worried about what we said at the 1 o'clock meeting that we should have said or shouldn't have said. Okay. So showing up at this leadership level where you feel like you have well-being, and I'm talking about grace, confidence, is step number 1. I told you I was going to share 3 critical things. Step number 1 is you have to stop focusing on you. Okay. Stop focusing on you. And I know that sounds really simple. You're like, I'm not focusing on me. I have a team and blah, blah. You're focusing on you. Like everyone we ever work with, we are so focused on ourselves. What is everyone thinking about me? Have you ever walked into a room or a new meeting or a client presentation or whatever it is, and you're like, what do these people think of me? Should I go talk to that person? Where should I sit? Should I sit here? We do this stuff. Women do it much more than men. We are so in our heads worried about all this crazy that we're not really focused on everyone else in the room, okay? And when I say that you need to focus on others, it feels a little like, oh, Kate, I'm already helping everybody else get their needs met. All I do is work all day trying to get everyone. That's not what I'm talking about, okay? I'm talking about removing the focus off of yourself, off of your fears, off of what do people think of me? Did I sit in the right chair? Did I say the right thing? Was the presentation polished enough? And instead, starting to walk through your universe, your corporate universe, going, what's everyone else here looking for? What are their needs? What are they trying to achieve? They don't just want you to do your job. They have something they're trying to achieve. So when I walk into a client presentation now, I'm not sitting there thinking like, oh gosh, I hope I nail this presentation. I'm thinking, oh, I wonder what's going on with that guy over there. I wonder what he needs. I wonder what's on his mind. I'm going up to people, introducing myself. I'm talking to them. I'm getting to know them. And I'm like, how long have you been here? What's going on for you? Are you excited to be here today? Are you not excited to be here today? What's most interesting to you about what we're going to share? Why are you here? I'm just listening to what they're saying. And very quickly I can assess, right, what are their needs? What's going on for them? Just asking a few very friendly questions. And where I see that the most trouble is A, we walk in, we're quiet. Hi, how's your weekend? How's the weather? Can I get you something to drink? We turn into like flight attendants or something. It's like, it's just the most horrifying thing. Like executive women, we turn into flight attendants when we walk into the room. You're not there to be a flight attendant. You're in there to get information to help you be more effective at your job so you feel more comfortable and confident and can deliver what everyone in the room really needs beyond the facts of the presentation. Does that make sense? Okay, so step number one is it's not all about you. Stop focusing on you. Start looking around to see what other people's needs are. The next thing you want to do is that second piece, which is as you're listening to what everyone else around you is saying, it could be your boss, is you want to start asking better questions, okay? Because in order to not go home at night and have all the cray-cray upstairs and all the worry and the concern, what is it ultimately that your boss, your leadership team, your colleague, whoever it is that is in front of you, what is it that they truly need? What is it going on for them? And it could be something as simple. Well, here, I'll give you a great example. In my own professional life, there is a gentleman that I work with in town, and he's pretty influential in what he does. He's like a CEO mentor type of individual. And love working with him, really see eye to eye, great guy. I don't know him super well, but professionally, you know, we get together on different client projects and things. And I was working alongside another woman who works with him as well. And I was asking her some questions because she knows him really well. She's worked with him for a long time. And I said, you know, so tell me a little bit more about him. I was asking some questions and she said, well, look, when he calls, I jump on that phone. I never miss his call. I don't care if I'm in the middle of dinner or my kid's bedtime. And I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. Like, why? I was just like, I wonder why, you know? And I said, well, why is that? And it was basically her script, right? Her idea of how she could really show up for this guy was to always be available. She thought that's what he wanted. And I thought, well, that's so interesting because I've been working with him for a couple of years now and I never answer his call if I'm in the middle of dinner or at kid's bedtime. In fact, a lot of times I just don't call him back till the next day. And you know what? He's fine with that. And so here's a perfect example of two different women who are dealing with the same individual who is prestigious, who's influential, who brings business and great relationships. There's all sorts of things that are amazing about working with this gentleman. And the way she's reacting to him is he is so important that I better jump or better be there, be really available. Maybe not jump, that sounds a little negative, but you know, I better be available whenever he calls. And my thought is, but I understand what he needs. And what he needs is he needs someone with my capability, with my vision and my ability to stretch his thinking. That's what he really needs. So when I think about interacting with him, I'm not thinking what his needs is he wants quick response from Kate. Never once has that ever come up. Even when I've talked with him before, I've never once had a conversation with him where he's like, wow, Kate, I really value you because every time I call, you're right there and available to me. Not once. What he values, because I've been asking him questions, is, wow, I haven't been able to find someone with your level of experience that's both strategic and executionary. Wow, I'm someone who's out here making a living, and part of what I do is I need to recommend really high caliber talent to other people. I can trust you because you're someone I can trust, I can recommend. Ah, okay, that's another need he has. So just with the short amount of time I've worked with him, I understand what his needs are, and I make sure that that's who I am when I'm around, right? Like that is who I am. And that's all he needs. He doesn't need me to always be there. He just needs to know that when I follow up or when I make that phone call or when I'm in the room, that I'm supporting him in that way. I'm supporting his needs. He needs to have a high level of trust in me. He needs someone who can be strategic as well as drive execution. And he needs someone who is visionary. That's what he's looking for because he's looking for a partner in that visionary process. Okay. Right there. That's just like a very broad brushstroke of how I'm focused on him. I'm not focused on me. And so again, if that person calls me in the middle of the night, my first concern, if it was the middle of the night, was, is he okay? But my second concern would be if someone's calling me like at that late at night or in the middle of my family time, I'm just not going to pick up the phone. I'm not worried about that. And we spend so much time worrying about ourselves. How are other people going to think of us? If I don't pick up the phone or if I'm not delivering in such a time frame, And that is just, that was great when you graduated college, right? When we graduated college, you needed to have the copies made at the copy machine on time, like yabble. But now, 20 years later in your career, that's not necessarily what people are looking for. And women don't see that because we've trained people to react to us that way. So if that's what you've trained your environment to be used to, yeah, then when you don't answer the phone, they're going to be like, where the hell's Kate? She always answers her phone when I call. I can't believe she's not answering her phone. Kate, are you dropping the ball? Because we've taught people to react to us that way. We have shown up as that person. And it all comes because we're focused on ourselves and not focused on others. Does that make sense? Okay. So what you really have to be doing is step one, stop focusing on yourself. Step two is you've got to start asking better questions of the people around you and really drill down. Like I find that a lot of times when women are asking questions, and this ties into the third thing I want to talk to you about, which is authenticity as a woman in your executive role, is women will say things like, how do you think the meeting went? And let's just say your boss says, well, I'm a little worried about it, but I think it went fine. Okay, great. And that's it. It's like, no, it's not okay, great. What do you mean you're a little worried about it? You're worried about it because you feel like the client's upset that we didn't deliver what they want, or you're worried because now you think we have a lot of extra workload that we weren't expecting? Do you mean that you're worried because you didn't feel like you played a prominent enough role, or are you worried because our team looked a little junior? Are you worried because, you got to dig in and figure out where does that worry come from? And this is where, as a woman, you can show up phenomenally effective at using your feminine ability to talk about feelings. Women are much more capable of talking about feelings. We've closed that piece off because we feel like we're not supposed to be emotional in the workplace, but there's nothing about inquiring about feelings and discussing that with your leadership or your colleague or whoever it is, your client, that makes you emotional. I'm not saying, oh my gosh, I'm so worried and I'm crying and I'm having a hissy fit or some like dramatic woman thing. I'm saying, well, what do you mean? Tell me more about that worry. I'm inquiring. I want to find out more what's going on. Again, I'm not focused on me. I'm asking questions. And when I find out what that person is worried about, now guess what? I can make sure that I'm helping solve that problem. And what do you think happens? Do I go home at night and go, oh my gosh, I don't know what my boss meant. He said he was worried. Maybe he's worried about this. Maybe he's worried about that. And we never dig deep enough. And so what happens to our well-being? Goes right out the window because we go home and we fret about it. We stay up late at night worrying about it. We try to second guess. I mean, I did this for years. I felt like I was supposed to know all the answers, always worried about me. And so I showed up in all these discussions and these really relevant conversations, not asking enough questions because I thought, well, if I ask too many questions, I'm going to look stupid. No, ask more questions, get clarification, get deeper, right? So if my boss or my leadership says I'm worried, I want to know what that worry means. And I will, as a matter of fact, go throughout, especially with men, and I will routinely go through and say, like, how are you feeling about this? What, after this happened, how did you feel? And then I'll say, if they don't know, if they're like, oh, I think it went well. I'm like, yeah, but how'd you feel? Are you excited about it? Or are you kind of nervous? Are you worried about it? Or are you anxious? Like, I will put feeling words in to find out. I was having a conversation with a client of mine who's a CEO, and he had gone off to Chicago for a meeting, and I met him in the lobby and he was telling me all about it and blah, blah, blah. And he was all like kind of animated, but I couldn't tell what the animation was. I'm like, animated irate, animated worried, animated excited. And I found myself sort of like starting to walk away from the interaction as we closed off our conversation. And I thought, I don't really know what's going on here. And I said, hey, wait, I said, can I just ask you? I said, overall, how'd you feel about the meetings though? How did it go? Are you excited or are you worried? What are you thinking? And he was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Like, this is like such a huge opportunity. I gave him this huge high five and I was like, rock on. Like, it was phenomenal because now I know what his needs are. He needs now to leverage the momentum of that meeting and keep that going, right? And so immediately I saw, what is his needs? He needs to leverage momentum. He's excited. We need to use this energy to move forward and continue to have some negotiations that were going on, right? So this is, again, what helps you from having to go home and kick the dog, or, you know, your kids are chattering at you and you're not even thinking about it because you're like, I wonder what he meant. He was all animated. Was he, you know, and we're thinking and we're thinking and we're thinking and we're thinking. So this seems like overly simple, and it is. And so it is simple, but it's not easy, right? And like, I always say this all the time, like, guys, it's really simple. It's not easy, because the hard part is moving the needle inside of yourself, that wiring, right? If you're wired for fear, if you're worried about what others think, if you have a really intense self-critic, if you're believing in a story or a script that says being an executive has to be hard, being an executive has to be stressful, we're not allowed to talk about emotions or whatever, then this becomes tragically impossible. And it keeps you stuck on the hamster wheel, because then the only other option is to constantly be proving your worth by doing all these things that you think people might need to prove that, look at me, I'm always here and I'm always doing stuff. And you will be valuable, but you'll only be valuable because of that, right? And so that's what's keeping you pinned to the desk late at night, or trapped mentally late at night and not able to disconnect, versus, great, I've got clarity on what my client needs. I understand what everyone's concerns are. I understand what everyone's excited about. It's very clear to me what the environment is like. And because I'm showing up in this environment ready to understand other people's needs and help them get their needs met, I'm not worried about myself. I'm just going to go in, I'm going to focus on those things, I'm going to get those done, and I'm going to walk back out at the end of the day, whatever time that needs to be for me that day, and I'm going to go enjoy my life. Really, really simple. Okay. So this is something that is so critical to understand. And again, I wish they taught this in executive school. I wish you got a cheat sheet on this. You don't. It is why understanding and up-leveling your mental game and your psychology is so critical. Because again, if you just do these things as strategies or tactics or things that you try, it doesn't work, because you don't believe it in your soul. You have to believe it all the way at your core that this is the way to show up. If not, what happens again is you're not going to see an outcome that's positive, because you're training everyone around you to expect something else from you. So then all of a sudden, if you try this strategy without having a belief in it in your inner core, and without having removed that fear from yourself, if you get any sort of pushback or any sort of curiosity or questioning, like, why are you asking me these questions? Oh, never mind, whatever. Right. And then we run right back in our little hidey hole in our safe spot. And that, of course, just puts us right back into this world that life is just hard. It's just not fun. And this should be fun. Anyone who has worked this hard to achieve this much, to get to this level of success, to get to a place where you can really be influencing your environment and your life, it should be simple. It's not always easy, but it should be fun, right? It should not have such a huge mental cost. So thank you guys, as always, to show up for this broadcast today. If you have any questions, feel free to post a comment, and feel free to share, right? There's another woman out there who could use this information and use this conversation. So pass it on. Like, make sure someone else is hearing this too, and let's get some dialogue going. If you happen to be a high achieving woman and you are someone with a stressful, high success career, and you are struggling to gain control over that so you can start enjoying your beautiful life, book a call with us. Let our team chat with you. Let's see what's going on. We can either get you headed in the right direction, or if it's a fit for what we do, we'll share that with you as well. And we can help you living your best life, and certainly not burning out or stepping back from a pretty audacious career. Thanks again, guys. It's always great to do these broadcasts, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.